Hallelujah. The Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cutter, Danielson, Exum, Fields, Gardner,
Excused.
Janal, Gonzalez, Hansen, Henriksen, Jaquez Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundeen, Marchman, Moreno, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter,
Excused.
Zenzinger, Zenzinger,
Zenzinger.
Mr. President,
Here. The morning roll call is 33 present, 0 absent, 2 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Buckner, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Good morning. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please add Senator Winter to the roll?
Faith.
Approval of the journal, Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate Journal of Thursday, January 19th, 2023 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. Senate Services.
January 20, 2023, correctly printed Senate Bills 59 and 60, Senate Joint Memorial 1, Senate Joint Resolution 3 and 4, correctly engrossed Senate Joint Resolution 3.
Introduction and consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Resolution 4?
Senate Resolution 4, Senators Fenberg and Moreno, concerning the rules of the Senate and in connection therewith, making the temporary rules of the Senate of the 74th General Assembly permanent and making changes to the rules of the Senate regarding remote participation in Senate legislative proceedings.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Resolution 4. Colleagues, this would establish permanent rules for the session. The difference between permanent and temporary rules is that with temporary rules, you only need a simple majority to change those rules. We started the session under temporary rules. If this resolution is adopted, we are going to move to permanent rules. Under the rules, under permanent rules, you have to give 3 days notice if you would like to change a rule in the Senate rules. Otherwise, if you don't give that 3 days notice, you need a 2/3 majority. So that would be the procedure going forward. if this resolution is adopted. The second thing that the resolution does is modify some of the language around remote participation so that it is not connected to a disaster, public health disaster emergency, but instead allows the president to promulgate rules if they pertain to the health and safety of one or more members of the Senate.
Further discussion. Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Majority Leader, for that description of this. In fact, we all discovered late in the session, last session, that for many, many years we had been operating pretty much continuously under permanent rules, and then we ultimately, late last session, adopted permanent rules. I rise in support of this resolution in anticipation of those permanent rules, and also in anticipation of an opportunity for us to find a pathway forward that I think is meaningful and beneficial. The pandemic changed all of our lives in so many ways. We bump up against that with this resolution. Retaining the best changes to our lives that were caused during the pandemic while rejecting the less favorable, or at least carefully managing those changes that persist, will be an important task for us as we move forward. We're seeking to do just that with this resolution. It's very important how we perceive this change and the tone we set today, because it is a matter that will persist in how we understand and interact with this institution, the Colorado Senate. I rise to call this out on the record because much of the way forward will be determined by the discretion of the president. I do not quibble with that, but simply seek to reinforce the idea, I believe a shared idea, that this institution is best served when we are all present in person and therefore most able to do the important work of the people of Colorado. One of the less favorable behaviors that popped up while under the public health emergency was the choice of remote participation by legislators during floor and committee work. In some cases, it was absolutely critically necessary, and we all honored and supported that. But it became, in some instances, perhaps a matter of apparent convenience and unfortunately routine for persons on both sides of the aisle. It was, in fact, something that we as a body partook in a way that perhaps became more than it should have been. I believe we as individuals and together as a body want legislators consistently back in the building, directly engaged with their colleagues and the rest of state government, individuals advocating for their perspective, and the professional advocates of the lobby in the work of governing, legislating, and making policy. The change offered in this rule gives us the opportunity to restore a good deal of the legislative culture we had pre-pandemic. But the rule will not be the thing that does the restoration. That will depend on each of us and the legislative leadership to set the cultural norms as to what we determine to be okay and that which isn't. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I rise, as I said, in support of this resolution.
Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of Senate Resolution 4. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Resolution 4 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Bridges, Priola, announcements. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Joint State Veteran Military Affairs Committee will be meeting upon adjournment, and the old Supreme Court will be hearing a presentation of Joint Budget Committee. Also, Office of the State Auditor, the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs, Department of State, and public testimony. We'll see you there.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, you will be meeting with the Joint Budget Committee, so please bring your book with the green stripe with you so that we can talk through that. Also, the Joint Budget Committee will be meeting upon adjournment of that joint meeting. It is not printed in the calendar, so you have been noticed.
Amen.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, the Joint Finance Committee will be meeting upon adjournment for one of our SMART Act hearings in the Old State Library. Look forward to seeing you there.
Senators Roberts, Pelton, and Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today is the day of the National Western Junior Livestock Auction, and I am pleased to report that we have done an excellent job as a Senate raising funds for those young kiddos in the junior livestock sale. We have far surpassed the House as well by a lot, so thank you all for your support. I have donations from 20 senators on both sides of the aisle, so there are some that have not yet contributed. Here's 21. Thank you. If it's not too late, please, if you have some money to spare and you want to support the junior livestock sale, please come find me before we leave here, and I will get this to them so they can have it for the sale this afternoon. Thank you all for your support. It means a lot. We just surpassed, thanks to the minority leader, we just surpassed $3,500.
Awesome.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this is investing in our future. These young individuals that raise these animals and show them are top shelf, and we need to support them with all we can. And I thank everyone that's contributed. This will go to a good cause and help support their futures. So thank you.
I'm going to.
Senator Pelton.
And I'd just like to let everybody know that today the auction is at the National Western Stock Show Arena by the club, and it's at 5:30. So come on down, enjoy it. Enjoy watching those kids. They're our future leaders of this country, and they're great kids. They're going to be awesome. And my kids raise livestock, and so they get to do that. And it's a great experience for the kids. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other announcements? Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seeing no further announcements, I move that the Senate recess until 10 a.m. today. Colleagues, you do not need to return. We're simply reading bills across the desk. Have a great weekend.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand in recess until 10 a.m. today.